Welcome to day 4 of your 13 days of nothing but haunted Appalachian folklore, some haunting stories, and even some haunting clips from the area. This is by far my favorite thing that I have done during the Halloween season. I'm so excited that we did this together. You guys seem to be loving it, so let's get into day 4, which is sudden darkness. And let me paint a picture for you so you know exactly what I mean by sudden darkness. You're vacationing in the Appalachian Mountains and you decide at around noon to take a hike through the woods that are right behind your cabin. You think, oh, this is fine. I know that I'm not supposed to be out after dark, so this seems like a perfect time to do this. I have a map, I know where to go. Well, you're in the middle of those woods. It's now 1 p.m., not a cloud in the sky, but suddenly it's as dark as midnight for no reason. An eclipse didn't cause this, a storm didn't cause this, but it's happening to you. This is a phenomenon that doesn't occur a lot, but when it does, it is quite jarring. It apparently has happened to me and my husband, but I don't remember it, only my husband does. So I don't know if that's something in itself of me not remembering it, but anyways. Something else that's really tricky when this happens is that usually at the same time, all of your electronics will be drained of their battery. So potentially the only flashlight you have is now unusable, and your map is also potentially unusable, causing you to get lost. And I'm not going to get too much into that because that is, spoiler alert, a bit of what we're going to be talking about tomorrow. I think for this reason, it is a good idea to never walk through the woods alone. Always have a friend with you and bring some backups. I know batteries can get drained too, but it's good to have a regular flashlight as a backup in case your phone battery dies. Keep some extra battery powered packs on you and maybe a paper map. Matches and things also aren't a bad idea. But just be aware, if this does happen to you, you are no longer welcome where you are and you are no longer alone. Now I want to get into some very real stories of this occurring, and for the first one, I want to tell you what my husband recounted to me that happened to us yesterday, but I have no memory of it. So apparently we were up on my parents' farm, which is in the middle of the Appalachian Mountains in Southwest Virginia. We're about 20 minutes from the Appalachian Trail. He said he can't remember exactly why we were up there, but he thinks it happened earlier this year. He thinks we were up there, planning to film something. But anyways, we're up there. He is a little bit a ways from me, so maybe I was just somewhere that it didn't happen, or I didn't experience it. I don't know. He said he remembers being in the hayfield by himself, looking up, thinking about what a pretty day it was, and the sky suddenly going dark. And it was to the point that he got out his phone. The battery was rapidly declining on it, by the way, and was looking to see if we had an eclipse that day that he didn't know about. There was no eclipse. There was no reason for this happening, but he said at the same time everything went very quiet. Like I said, no memory of this for me. I don't know if maybe I was inside of the barn or inside of the house up there and didn't notice it, but I have no memory of it happening, which is something I would like to look into myself, because why don't I remember it? There is another story that was sent in to me. I cannot find it anywhere. I remember it being DM'd to me, so I'm going to try to recount it to you the best that I can remember before I get into actually reading stories. I remember this guy was telling me he and his wife had just moved to eastern Tennessee, and he was having a thing at his house, a big barbecue, and he was going to clear out some trees in his backyard so they had a little bit more room. He planned on doing that anyways, but it was the perfect time to do it now. So he put in his AirPods, he gets on his tractor, and he's working away, and he said for some reason he just felt like he was supposed to look up into the woods, and he noticed that not too far in, it was dark. And it's not just the dense woods dark, around it, it was still a little bit dark, but pretty light. No, this one specific area, dark. So he takes out his AirPod and everything is completely silent around him. And at this point, he didn't know anything about the rules, so he kept going, but he kept note. But he said things were watching him so intensely, and he felt such a sense of impending doom, he immediately took out both AirPods so he could pay attention, got on his tractor, and left and did not finish those trees. Which I think is absolutely horrific, and I'm so upset that I couldn't find that story to actually read it to you guys, but I wanted to make sure I told it to you. But anyways, with those stories in mind, let's read some more terrifying ones that are directly from you guys. It's so crazy that I see you bring this up on TikTok because I'm from East Tennessee and my grandparents live out in the sticks. When I was around 20 or so years old, I would stay with them periodically to help them around the house and whatever they needed. I would park my car behind in the driveway, but if you know anything about East Tennessee and Appalachia, when we say the sticks, there are no streetlights or anything. I was always terrified to go out to my car at night. I don't know why really, I just always would get this impending doom feeling every time I went out there, like something was watching or waiting. Well, one night it seemed more dark than usual. It was wintertime, though, because it gets dark early. My mama asked me to run to the store for her so I'd get ready. Of course, the porch light's on, but it didn't do much. I used my phone flashlight and took off for the car like always. Just beyond where my flashlight was shining was complete darkness. But there was just enough light that I could see this huge dog-looking creature take off running from behind my car. It was at least 8 feet tall, and it looked like a dog or a wolf, but a huge one. I screamed and went back in the house, but in the second that I screamed, it took off. It looked at me right before with its bright yellow eyes. It was one of the scariest things I've ever seen. I didn't go after dark for a long time after that, although something was just different about that darkness. So that's something else, too, that I didn't really touch on in my little monologue. Even at night, you need to watch out for this, because if there is a difference to the darkness, that can also kind of indicate that something is near. Same thing with nature going silent. Just keep an eye for both of those. But yes, unnatural darkness even at night is a red flag. That is something I have noticed, actually. It can be a full moon, but there's like one area that for some reason is just so dark. And it wasn't like that prior, and then it won't be like that after a few minutes. So keep an eye out for that as well. Alright, next story. I have a story that happened to me this month and is still continuing to this very moment. Before you worry about me or anyone else in the house currently, I have set protections around, and it has worked for a short amount of time, but failed in the past few days. This all started on November 12th, a month before my birthday. I was in the bedroom and my partner was in the living room. I heard him calling from what sounded like outside. Keep in mind, I live in New York, part of Appalachia. The entity that I heard was not great at mimicking, as I had heard the distortion in the voice. My dog and I were on the edge when we heard this. He perked up and started growling, as if it were right at the window. I felt piercing eyes watching me, as if it wanted to do things that were unspeakable. I was petrified at that moment. I stood up calmly and went to the living room and sat next to my partner. They were normal, as if nothing had happened. My black cat, specifically Black Cat, came up next to me and felt as if the horror went away. One thing that was still present was the knocking and tapping that my partner had heard eventually. I thought to write about this to you because I want people in New York Appalachian area to be aware that they're also in danger of these things. As of now, the woods are silent. I'm in a lit room with my partner, child, and pets. We're watching a movie and are trying to ignore the silence as much as we can. We hear the tapping and wind howling. My child was scared and we held her close because we knew something's watching. As I'm writing this right now, the nighttime is unusually dark. My curtains are shut. We're planning to sleep together in bed tonight since we do not want our daughter to be alone. We have our TV playing to make the silence gone and sound loud. The animals are with us currently and are on edge. They're calming down more, but it's not getting any better. It's midnight. We are hoping it stops soon. My name is Alicia. Please help me find out what this thing is. It's not a mimic and it's not a spirit, but it's something. Thank you for reading this if you do. Okay, I need to email them back, although I think this story was sent in to me a while ago. So we have another one of not unusually dark in the daytime, but just unusually dark at night, which I think honestly is one that needs to be talked about more because it's a lot more hard to pinpoint because it's already so dark, especially if you're in the middle of nowhere. But yes, several points in this one. New York Appalachia is still Appalachia. I don't care how far north you go. I don't care if you're in Canada, you're still in the mountains, and these things still need to be adhered to. It seems like this thing has gotten attention specifically for this case somewhere and has latched onto this family. You're going to hear a lot about iron stakes these next few days, as I'm sure you know. I've talked about them in every video, but I almost recommend them every single time, putting them on the four corners outside of your property or even on the inside of your front door. Obviously, keep them out of reach of kids inside. But I recommend that every single time. It's always great. Black salt on the windowsills is always great, but it's best to ignore things. Now, what concerns me is the mimicking is only being heard by one person, which means that one person is probably targeted. So a little bit more protections on that person is going to have to happen. All right, next story. I think something is watching me, and I think it's too late to get rid of it. I just moved back into my parents' house in Dover, New York, right around Appalachia. I was living with my grandparents in Massachusetts for the past year, and I'm finally home. Growing up, my house always had a weird aura. It's old and creaky. It's like an old farmhouse set right on a tree line with some acres of land on it. I've heard the rules about Appalachia, but my family was never superstitious, so we never followed them. My older brothers actually loved to break them to prove nothing would happen. To get to the chase, 2 weeks ago at around 8 p.m., the sun had started setting, and my family finished up spending time outside. They left for dinner with some friends, and I stayed home. While I was outside cleaning up, I felt a weird aura coming from the trees and noticed just how deafeningly quiet it got. It was honestly kind of freaky, but I thought nothing of it. That's when I headed inside, and out of nowhere, within 5 minutes of being in, it started raining and pouring. The darkness was unimaginable. And this is weird because it had been gorgeous all day long. No clouds, but suddenly it's storming and thundering. I decided to go back outside to close up our animals' enclosures. When I got to our chickens, I noticed that they were all let out, nowhere to be seen. The weather was getting worse, so I had to go back in. Long story short, I ended up going into my bedroom and finished up packing for the night. My bedroom is on the first floor, and it looks out to the tree line around 15 feet back. That's when I got the feeling again, that strange aura coming back. What made the situation worse is that I couldn't stop feeling like I was being watched. I kept finding myself looking at the window and wondering if I'd see something. At around 10 p.m., I did see something. Our floodlights were on and the rain hadn't let down. My parents were still out, and I saw a tall figure that was dark and nearly blended in with the trees. The only reason I saw it was the light reflecting against its bony figure. I got freaked out and called my boyfriend, who lived around 15 minutes away. I asked him how the rain was for him, trying to get my mind off the figure. I decided to keep my eyes on its unmoving body. He said, "It hasn't rained at all here. What are you talking about?" I was so confused on how that was possible. But maybe the storm just hadn't reached him yet. That's what I told him about the figure. He was a little freaked out, and he asked me if it was a man, but honestly, every fiber in my body knew that this thing wasn't a person. He calmed me down and told me to just lock the doors and windows, so I did. I'm glad I did, because when I came back, I saw that it was gone. My boyfriend told me it must have been a bear, but I don't think he understood how freakishly tall and skinny this thing was. I doubt a bear would act like that. My parents eventually came home around 10:30, and the rain had stopped just a few minutes prior. And when they did ask me why the front door was all banged up, I had no idea what they meant, so I went to check. Our front door was nearly busted in. There was mud smears all over it. I was freaked out but did nothing. The next day we found 3 of our chickens. Every night since then, I get that feeling at the tree line, but now I can't find the figure in them. It's really scaring me, and I don't know what to do. So that was a different one. This one had a whole storm to it. That's the thing. So I went through all of my emails, and I have thousands of emails sent in, and a lot of them are from Appalachia. And these are really the only stories I could find with sudden darkness. It's so rare that there's not many stories of it, and the ones that I do have, each one is different. And I have never heard of a storm out of nowhere with one, but now it has me rethinking some of my own experiences. That is horrific. And the tall creature in the trees, oh my god, can you imagine the fear seeing your door covered in mud and just busted up? Oh. Well, that is all for today. I'm sorry this video is so short. Like I said, this one is just one that doesn't happen a lot, but it's just one I have to talk about because, for one, my husband's experienced it, so I know it's legit. But it's just so strange and so creepy. If you have any of these stories, or any from Appalachia in general, please send them to the email address listed below. I would love to read them. I would love to do a part 2 of this in particular if I get more of these stories, but that is literally all I had of this. It's such a rare and strange phenomenon. But tomorrow we are going to be talking about getting lost in places that you should not be getting lost, and that kind of coincides with this one, so get ready for that, and I will see you tomorrow.